The temperature of a heated metal can be determined by its color, and it doesn't matter which metal it is. Yellow indicates a temperature of 2,500 degrees. White is upwards of 3,000 degrees. For the last few minutes before the South Tower blew up, some yellow-hot molten metal began pouring out of a window at the 80th floor. Could the steel floor trusses be melting for some reason? Could it be melting aluminum from the airplane? Reportedly, the 81st floor was full of lead batteries for computer backup. Could it be melting lead? Whatever substance this is, it's at least 2,500 degrees, far hotter than can be explained by fire.
I found myself in the midst of a very sophisticated group of about 24 in December of 2005. It occurred to me that here we had the resources that might be very appropriate to found a society as a loose affiliation among scholars that would be devoted to the purpose of exposing falsehoods and revealing truths about 9/11. I invited David Griffin to be my co-chair. He declined, but he suggested Stephen Jones as a possibility. I invited Stephen to join me as co-chair, which he did, and I proceeded to found Scholars.
In September 2005, physicist Stephen Jones rocked the academic world by publishing a paper on the Brigham Young University website. The following February, Dr. Jones gave a lecture to a packed house. He demolished the official story and presented his theory that thermite was responsible for the destruction of the towers.
This is a steel structure now from the North Tower. Something glowing there, and then this trailing off smoke coming off of that. It certainly looks like thermite, but there's more. There was molten metal found beneath both towers and Building 7.
Thermite is a chemical reaction between aluminum powder and iron oxide. When ignited, the oxygen is torn away from the iron and bonds with the aluminum, forming aluminum oxide and molten iron. It can produce temperatures upwards of 2,800 degrees Fahrenheit.
I'd be delighted to go on the evidence for a thermite, the observation of these iron-bearing spheres, tiny spheres in the dust in abundance, which match what I can do and have done with the thermite reaction. The thermite reaction produces spheres. They're rich in iron, also aluminum. That's the signature for thermite. We see the same signature in the spheres which are observed in the World Trade Center dust.
Dr. Jones became a hero to me. A man of impeccable credentials was risking his career, taking on the government, and exposing the inside job with science.
You're a family man, a gentleman, a teacher and a scholar. You're calmly shouting fire in a very crowded theater. So I wake up and open my eyes. Yeah, I see it too. So I believe you. You're a great American hero. In your veins are red, white, and blue. And with your faith in the Constitution, you come shining a light of truth. And there ain't nothing like the truth when it hits your bones. So thank you, Dr. Jones. Dr. Jones. How could I have feet. You could be so intertangled with the melting point of steel. Thank you for keeping it real. I'm glad that's what you do. Oh, yes, I'm glad that's what scientists do. Aren't you? You're a great American hero, and you show us treasure that you found, like a modern day Galileo. You go saying the world is round, but there's something they can't allow. So they'll just help you shut you down. They might break your bones, so watch out, Dr. Jones.
That's the statement of a musician.
The towers collapsed, according to NIST and the 9/11 Commission report, in about 10 seconds. You might give it a little longer than that. It's hard to tell at the end, but say 12 or 13 seconds. A nice study by Professor Kenneth Cutler goes through the math, incorporating now conservation of energy and momentum, basically doing what NIST should have done, looking at the actual destruction sequence, not stopping at initiation. You say, well, if we conserve momentum, we have to consider the mass that's in the way. It takes energy out of this moving block of floor. So we say, okay, we'll let it initiate. We'll give NIST that. Somehow you get this initiation of a collapse. Now, what happens? The collapse just does not continue. It goes for a while and then it stops. It's slowing down and it stops.
Another member of Scholars, mechanical engineer Judy Wood, wasn't buying the official collapse theory either.
From the faculty conference room, I went up to my office, and I was thinking, if this was a collapse, one floor hitting another, which hit another, what would I expect? And I just did some real rough numbers and a real rough model in my mind, which later became the billiard ball example. It's an example to get your brain functioning. On 9/11, we saw images over and over again. Horror scenes, bodies dropping, terrible things. And we were trained to respond a certain way to that. So people have a difficult time wanting to go back and rethink that situation and relive it. So if we can step aside from that and just turn it into a little math problem, a little mental exercise. The person holding a red billiard ball out the window on the 100th floor can't drop his billiard ball until he sees the blue one from above drop by. Then he releases his. You can get a mental image of the timing. One floor can't start moving until it's been triggered to start moving. So how long does it take each floor to collapse down to get the next floor started? And when it hits the next one, it turns to dust. Supposedly, we're told it was getting pulverized by the impact. So going through this mental exercise, okay, we say every single floor, it would be 97 seconds from top to bottom. That's over a minute and a half. They went away faster than it would take to drop one ball off the roof and have it hit the pavement. So there wasn't enough time for that stuff to hit the ground.
In the spring of 2006, conflict was beginning to divide the scholars. Dr. Jones was claiming that the molten metal pouring from the South Tower had to be iron and couldn't be aluminum.
Liquid aluminum has the property that it's silvery, but rather like aluminum foil, you know, at all temperatures in daylight conditions.
Dr. Wood disagreed. She was doing experiments at Clemson showing that aluminum will glow brightly at high temperatures. At the time, I wondered what this fight was really all about. Whether or not molten aluminum glows would seem to be a straightforward question. The wars in the Middle East were raging. The propaganda machine was in high gear here in America. Discussion forums like JREF were dominated by organized teams of posters clearly adamant about supporting the official story at all cost. Darryl Worley immortalized the official story with his anthem.
I hear people say we don't need this war, but I say there's some things worth fighting for.
As a songwriter, I felt I had to answer that.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories concerning the attacks of September 11th.
I hear people knocking 9/11 truth. They call us tinfoil hat-wearing kooks. But what about the jet planes flying all around while our mighty air defenses are standing down? You say that we should blindly believe our government. Before you start your preaching, let me ask you this, my friend. Have you forgotten what we saw as one? Oh, those towers turned to dust. They were prone to kingdom come. Have you forgotten just how fast they fell? Office fires can't do that. No, there ain't no way in hell.
You try to blame it all upon daylight.
Have you forgotten? Break it down for us, Larry.
That's such terrible loss of life. If this one is pull it. And they made that decision to pull. Then we watched the building collapse.
They took all the footage off my TV. It's too incriminating for you to see. That would blow the cover. That would solve the crime. Biggest inside job of all time. Some see a police state coming into view. After 9/11, man, I'd have to say that's true. Have you forgotten what we saw as one? Oh, those towers turned to dust. They were bound to kingdom come. Have you forgotten just how fast they fell? Office fires can't do that. they did it for. Have you forgotten all the people killed as the empire marches on down to the oil field? Have you forgotten about our Pentagon, all the loved ones that we lost to the neocons? Have you forgotten? Face the truth. Have you forgotten? Forgotten.
They made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building.
Well, that's the statement of a musician.
Blown to Kingdom Come was linked on the Scholar's website, which was now getting thousands of hits per day. But all was not well. The truth movement was fracturing.
Of the terror attacks is a lie. You say, for example, that there were no planes that hit the World Trade Center. Is that your contention?
No, what I say is that there were no big Boeing crashes at all four events. There's no significant wreckage, for example.
Well, did you see the videotape that the rest of us saw?
Sure, and I encourage everybody to do a frame-by-frame penetration of the South Tower, and what you will see is a fake, a cartoon display. Because an aluminum plane cannot go through a building like the South Tower was, as if it were thin air.
What? No planes? Can he be serious? In films like The Big Lie and Loose Change, the claim had long been made that no plane crashed at the Pentagon or Shanksville, Pennsylvania. But the World Trade Center? I mean, we all saw planes crash on live TV. Didn't we?
Oh my goodness. Oh God, there's another one.
In fact, there were a number of personalities on the internet who were saying that no planes had really crashed at any of the four sites. Rosalie Grable, aka the Web Fairy, Nico Haupt, aka E-Wing 2001, Killtown, Genghis 6199,
You're selling truth. Truth is free, man. There's no dollar attached.
And an Australian musician called Jared Holmgren.
If we take a closer look at the live shot of the plane hitting the South Tower, we'll see that we didn't actually see it hit the tower at all. What we saw was, imagine that this is your view of the World Trade Center tower, and we saw a second or two of what appeared to be a plane come across the screen and pass behind the building, giving the impression that it had impacted the hidden face of the building.
Jim Hoffman drew a hard line, specifically disclaiming no plane theory. I trusted Jim Hoffman and his scholarly footnoted website. No planes? Ridiculous. Curiously, each plane made a bright flash just as it impacted the tower. What could possibly have caused that? It can't be any sort of static electricity charge. The nose of the aircraft is plastic. Dave Von Kleist, in his film In Plain Sight, advanced the idea that the airplane fired a missile out of a pod located underneath the right wing.
It is irrefutable that there is something attached to the bottom of this plane and a distinct flash as it makes contact. Let's take a look at this event from another angle. And now let's take a look at it again from a third angle. And now let's take a look at it one more time from a fourth angle. There can be no doubt that this is not the result of a reflection of any sort, but in fact was a flash caused by an explosion, a detonation, a missile, something happened.
But the pod shape turned out to be nothing more than a bulge called a wing fairing, perfectly normal for a 767. And we certainly don't see any missile shooting out. What were those flashes all about? Meanwhile, Judy Wood was publishing articles bashing Stephen Jones, and with very good reason.
At that point in time, there was a falling out between Steve and me. I had invited Judy Wood onto the program. It was actually the last show I had with a radio broadcast on Republic. And we were talking about all the research she did in displaying the vast range of damage, not just to the Twin Towers, but to buildings 3, 4, 5, and 6. Where, of course, Building 7 didn't come down until 5:20 in the afternoon and requires a whole separate explanation. The toasted cars. The massive degree of pulverization. Photographs of this dust cloud enveloping New York City that involve billions of cubic yards of very fine dust. It became apparent to me at that point in time that there was no possible way that an hypothesis rooted in conventional explosives, even supplemented by cutter charge like thermate and thermate, could possibly be adequate to explain all of the data. Now, Steve and I had a divergence here because I wanted to broaden the range of hypotheses for consideration, but Steve and some of his allies really basically wanted to restrict the focus to their preferred hypothesis.
Jones was ignoring the totality of the devastation, facts that didn't fit his thermite theory. In the fall of 2006, the conflict reached a breaking point. Jones resigned Scholars to start a new group, taking a number of his supporters with him. Meanwhile, Judy Wood was offering a brand new theory of her own.
Where'd it go?